Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Dharma Journey, where we explore the profound values of Buddhism and Eastern philosophy through a fresh, objective, and relatable lens. You know, when people hear the word Buddhism, many instantly think of grand temples, gleaming golden Buddha statues, the gentle echo of temple bells ringing through a peaceful courtyard, or monks in saffron robes walking mindfully in silence. Some people believe Buddhism is simply an ancient religion for ascetics who renounce the world. Others see it as a philosophy, a path to find inner peace amidst the chaos of modern life. The truth is, Buddhism holds so many rich and diverse layers that if we only look at the surface, we can easily overlook its hidden treasures. And because of this diversity, countless misunderstandings and misconceptions about Buddhism still exist today. There are things that, even if you've read books, listened to Dharma talks, or visited temples to offer incense, you might never have truly heard about. These are the lesser-known aspects. The deeper truths that could make you rethink the image of Buddhism you've carried in your mind all this time. Today, I'd like to invite you to go a little deeper with me, to uncover 5 secrets about Buddhism that very few people outside the inner circles truly know. These aren't just fascinating facts, they hold insights that might change how you see happiness, suffering, and the path to true inner freedom. I believe the more you learn, the more you'll realize that Buddhism isn't dry or distant at all. In fact, it's incredibly close to each of us, no matter who you are, where you live, or what you believe in. Buddhism doesn't ask you to give up everything or blindly follow. Instead, it gently reminds you, see for yourself. Test it for yourself. Experience it directly. So, what are these secrets? Why have so many Western scholars, scientists, and millions of people around the world turn to Buddhism as a source of spiritual inspiration and healing? Are you curious yet? Here's a little spoiler. Secret number 3 will probably surprise you the most, because it's about how Buddhist meditation can actually change the human brain. Something modern science is now proving more and more clearly. And I promise you, once you watch this video to the end, you'll no longer see Buddhism as a religion only for the elderly or some distant, mystical belief system. You'll see that the Buddha's teachings still hold timeless value, touching the hearts of anyone seeking peace, self-understanding, and a freer way to live. So let's begin this journey of discovery together. Make sure to keep an open mind, because you might just realize that the things you were so sure about when it comes to Buddhism might not be the whole truth after all. If you're ready, let's dive into 5 hidden secrets of Buddhism that few outsiders ever hear about, and see which one surprises you the most. Secret number 1, Buddhism doesn't have a creator god. When people think of religion, most of us immediately picture an all-powerful being, a God who created the universe and decides the fate of all living things. In Christianity, that's God the Father. In Islam, it's Allah. In Hinduism, it might be Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva. But the very first thing that often surprises people, even followers of other religions, is that Buddhism doesn't have the concept of a supreme creator God. You heard that right. The Buddha never claimed to be a god or an almighty being who rewards or punishes humans. He simply called himself a guide, someone who discovered the path to freedom from suffering and shared that path with everyone willing to walk it. In many Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha makes this point very clear. I only show the way. You yourselves must walk it. This means Buddhism isn't built on blind faith in some supernatural power. Buddhism doesn't ask you to believe that a divine being controls your destiny. Instead, the entire Buddhist teaching emphasizes karma, the law of cause and effect. Everything that happens in your life is shaped by your own actions, words, and thoughts. There's a well-known story about a Brahmin, a follower of Hinduism, who once asked the Buddha, "Are you a god?" The Buddha answered, "No." "Are you a deity?" "No." "Then who are you?" The Buddha gently replied, "I am awake." That's all, just a human being who awakened to the truth through wisdom and direct experience. This unique difference is why many Western scholars don't label Buddhism as a theistic religion but rather see it as a system of philosophy and spiritual practice. You don't have to believe in a god to meditate, follow ethical precepts, or cultivate compassion. This also explains why Buddhism has spread so widely around the world, especially in the West, where many people no longer follow traditional religions but still long for a path to inner growth and peace. Of course, it's important to understand that Buddhism does include ideas about heavenly realms, hell realms, and protective deities. But these beings are not creator gods. They, too, exist within the endless cycle of birth and death, subject to karma, and can lose their good fortune and be reborn just like anyone else. So when people ask, who do Buddhists worship? Who do they believe in? The answer is, Buddhism doesn't require you to worship anyone at all. You can see the Buddha as a teacher, an enlightened guide, not a creator. You can even choose to simply practice meditation and cultivate wisdom without attaching yourself to any God-centered belief. And that's the first secret that many outsiders have never realized. Buddhism isn't based on faith in a creator god. Instead, Buddhism teaches that every person has the capacity to free themselves through wisdom and diligent practice. This is also why Buddhism is often seen as a path of freedom, not bound by rigid dogma or strict commandments. In today's world, where more people are hungry for truth grounded in personal experience and reason, Buddhism's non-theistic spirit has become an even greater source of attraction for those seeking a meaningful, independent path to understanding and peace. Secret number 2, everything is impermanent, including you. If you ask what makes Buddhism profoundly different from most other religions and philosophies, the answer lies in a core concept, impermanence. Impermanence means that absolutely everything in this world is temporary. Every physical thing, every emotion, every relationship, every bit of fame and status, even your own body and mind, are all changing from moment to moment. You may have heard someone say, life is impermanent. But very few people truly grasp how deeply this truth shapes the way we experience everything around us. In the Buddha's teachings, impermanence isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a fundamental truth, a law of how the universe works. Whether you believe it or not, whether you accept it or not, it's always there, governing every aspect of life. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, is there anything you own, anything you are, that never changes? Think about your youth. It's not the same as when you were 18 or 20. Think about relationships you once thought would last forever, yet they changed, ended, or transformed into something else. Even the beliefs you hold most tightly about yourself shift over the years. The Buddha taught that suffering arises because we don't understand or accept impermanence. When we cling to anything, a person, a feeling, a possession, an idea of who we are, we suffer when it changes or disappears. There's a beautiful image in Buddhist texts that says everything is like a breeze passing through a field of grass. One moment it's lush and green, then after one dry season, it withers away. But impermanence isn't just about loss or sorrow, it's also hope. Because if everything changes, then pain and despair also change. A heartbreak you thought would never heal eventually fades with time. This is why many people come to Buddhism not to escape life, but to learn how to accept life's changes with a calmer, clearer heart. Another interesting point is that impermanence in Buddhism doesn't stop at things outside of us, it goes deeper, right into our idea of the self. We tend to think we are a fixed identity, that there's a me that never changes. But according to the Buddha, what we call I is really just a temporary combination of parts, our body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. These 5 elements are always shifting, there is no unchanging core. Think of it like a flame. A flame exists, but if you break it down, it's just the momentary interaction of fuel, heat, and air. When the conditions disappear, the flame goes out. Understanding this can bring huge relief. You don't have to defend some rigid, permanent self. You don't have to suffer when you change. You don't have to blame yourself for your shifting thoughts and feelings. In the West, many modern psychologists now agree that attachment to a fixed identity is one of the main causes of anxiety and depression. When we believe we always have to be somebody, strong, successful, admired, any change feels threatening. But when you deeply understand impermanence, you realize you're more like a flowing river. The water passes by, its shape changes, but the current keeps moving. The Buddha didn't teach us to deny life or reject all desire. He simply encouraged us to be mindful of clinging, to see that attachment is the root of suffering. When you know everything is temporary, you cherish each moment more fully, without fear of losing it. A famous monk once said, "Everything is precious because everything is impermanent." When you know tomorrow won't be the same as today, you love more deeply, listen more fully, and live more honestly. Understanding impermanence also makes it easier to forgive others, because you know they, too, are changing. They make mistakes, feel regret, and sometimes want to start over. And so do you. This is the second secret of Buddhism, a truth that many outsiders never hear explained in depth. Everything, from the physical world to our thoughts, emotions, and even our sense of self, is not permanent. When you truly hold this truth in your heart, you'll feel freer and more at peace. You won't need to cling so tightly to everything out of fear. You'll learn to cherish the present and gently let go of what's already past. In the next video, we'll uncover the third secret, and I promise, it's the one that will surprise you most. It's about how Buddhist meditation directly connects with modern neuroscience, and how it can literally reshape your brain. Stay with me on this journey of discovering Buddhism's deeper secrets, so you can see for yourself how its timeless wisdom can bring real calm and freedom into your everyday life. Secret number 3, Buddhist meditation can change your brain. When you hear the word meditation, you might instantly picture monks sitting motionless for hours, eyes half closed, breathing slowly, completely detached from the hustle and bustle of daily life. For many people, meditation feels distant, something mystical or impractical for modern living. But did you know that over the last few decades, Buddhist meditation has become a serious topic of study for neuroscientists and psychologists? These studies have revealed something truly remarkable. Meditation doesn't just calm your mood, it can actually change the structure and functioning of the human brain. This is one of the big reasons Buddhism has drawn so much interest from Western scholars and mental health experts. Let's start with a simple question: what is meditation, really? In Buddhism, meditation, called bhavana in Pali, meaning cultivation or development, isn't just about sitting still. It's a practice of training the mind to become calm, clear, and deeply aware of the true nature of things. There are many different meditation techniques, but the two most common in Buddhist traditions are samatha, calm abiding meditation, training the mind to focus and settle into deep stillness and concentration; vipassana, insight meditation, observing reality clearly, seeing the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self nature of all things. The key point is that meditation is not a mystical state you have to blindly believe in, it's a practical method, based on direct experience, that anyone can try regardless of religion or beliefs. Because it's so experiential, scientists began to ask, if meditation really works, can we actually measure it with modern technology? The answer turned out to be yes, and the findings surprised many. One of the most well-known studies was done at Harvard University, led by Dr. Sarah Lazar. She and her team scanned the brains of people who took part in an 8-week meditation program, meditating just 30 to 45 minutes a day. What they found was fascinating. The hippocampus, the region involved in learning, memory, and emotional regulation, grew thicker. The amygdala, the brain's stress and fear center, actually shrank. The gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex increased, which helps with decision-making and self-awareness. In other words, after just 8 weeks of regular meditation, participants' brains showed clear, measurable changes. They didn't just feel calmer and less anxious, they actually improved their focus and self-understanding. And this isn't just one isolated study. Across the US, Europe, and Japan, countless labs have run similar experiments. The results keep pointing to the same conclusion. Buddhist meditation, especially breath awareness and mindfulness meditation, has profound benefits for mental and even physical health. Another study by the University of Wisconsin looked at the brains of longtime Tibetan monks. They found strong, sustained gamma brain waves, which are linked to deep states of happiness and heightened awareness during meditation. These monks could also manage their emotional reactions in extraordinary ways. When exposed to stressful sounds, the parts of their brains that process fear barely activated at all. This shows they had reached a level of inner balance most of us can hardly imagine. So what gives Buddhist meditation this power? First, meditation isn't about escaping reality, it's about turning inward to face yourself honestly. When you sit down, follow your breath. And watch thoughts and feelings come and go without clinging to them, you discover something profound. Every emotion, even anxiety, anger, or fear, is temporary. When you don't chase or suppress these feelings, they naturally pass. In that moment of mindful awareness, you start to taste true inner freedom. Meditation teaches you a vital skill: the ability to observe without judgment. This is the heart of mindfulness, a concept that has now spread all over the world. Therapists, psychiatrists, and personal development coaches are using mindfulness to help people cope with stress, depression, anxiety disorders, and even chronic pain. The Buddha once said, "The mind is the forerunner of all things. The mind is the master. The mind creates." Modern science has confirmed this. Our brains are neuroplastic, they can reshape themselves, building new neural pathways throughout our lives. Meditation is a natural, safe, and cost-free tool to train your brain to become healthier and happier. Many Westerners new to Buddhism are amazed. How can a practice taught over 2,500 years ago, with no technology, no medication, have the power to transform the modern human mind and brain? That's why I call this one of Buddhism's greatest secrets, because it's not just a belief or a theory. It's a living practice proven by millions of people's real-life experience and backed by solid scientific evidence. If you've always thought meditation was only for monks or for people who want to leave the world behind, maybe it's time to try it yourself. You don't have to quit your job or give up your family. Just 10 to 20 minutes a day of quietly watching your breath can start changing you from the inside out. And one day, you might realize that peace of mind isn't something you need to search for in some faraway place. It's been within you all along, just waiting for you to come home to it. This is the third secret. Buddhist meditation isn't just a religious tradition, it's a powerful method to reshape your brain and your heart, helping you grow more aware, more compassionate, and more free every single day. Secret number 4, the Buddha never claimed to be a god. One of the most common misunderstandings about Buddhism, especially among people who only see it from the outside, is the idea that the Buddha is worshipped as an almighty god, a supernatural being who blesses people, punishes them, or controls their fate. Have you ever walked into a temple, seen a golden Buddha statue on an altar, watched people bowing and offering incense, and wondered, so Buddhism is basically just another religion worshipping a deity? The truth is completely different. This is the fourth secret that many outsiders don't know: the Buddha never claimed to be a god. He never said he had supernatural powers to save all beings just through faith alone. To really understand this, let's look back at the Buddha's life story. Over 2,500 years ago in ancient India, Prince Siddhartha Gautama was born into luxury and wealth, shielded from life's suffering. But when he saw sickness, old age, and death for the first time, he realized he couldn't ignore life's truths any longer. At 29, he left his palace, his title, and even his family to set out in search of a way to end suffering. After 6 years of harsh ascetic practice that nearly killed him, He realized that extreme self-denial was not the path to true awakening. Finally, after meditating for 49 days and nights under the Bodhi tree, he reached a state of total awakening. This awakening is called enlightenment, seeing the impermanence, suffering, and non-self nature of all things, and freeing himself from attachment, fear, and ignorance. After his enlightenment, people asked him, "Who are you? Are you God?" The Buddha's answer was crystal clear. "I am not God. I am not a divine being. I am simply one who is awake." The word Buddha in Sanskrit literally means, the awakened one. He wasn't a god handing out blessings or miracles, he was a human being with extraordinary wisdom and determination who freed himself from suffering through his own insight. So why do so many people light incense, offer food, and pray before Buddha statues? Here's where many people get it wrong. Buddhists don't worship the Buddha as a god who grants wishes or punishes sinners. They pay respect to him as a great teacher, as a symbol of compassion and wisdom. Lighting incense or bowing before a Buddha statue isn't about begging for miracles, it's a ritual to remind ourselves of the ideal of enlightenment, to honor the qualities the Buddha embodied, and to strengthen our own faith in our ability to transform ourselves. Think of it like admiring a great scientist or an extraordinary moral figure. Showing respect doesn't mean you believe they are a supernatural being. Another point that makes Buddhism unique. The Buddha never said that simply worshipping him would free anyone from suffering. He made it very clear, every person must practice for themselves and walk their own path to awakening. There's a famous saying that impresses many Westerners. "Do not believe just because I say so. Experience it and test it for yourself." The Buddha always encouraged his followers to question, investigate, and directly verify the truth, very different from many dogmatic faiths that require blind belief. One day, someone asked him, "If you're not a god or divine being, can you save all living beings?" The Buddha answered, "I am just a guide. Those who walk the path arrive. Those who do not arrive." That single line says everything about the spirit of freedom and personal responsibility at the heart of Buddhism. No one outside of you can liberate you. No supreme being will grant you freedom if you don't make an effort yourself. There's no need to fear eternal punishment if you don't blindly believe. For this reason, many scholars describe Buddhism as a philosophy and a system of practical methods rooted in wisdom and direct experience, not just revelation or blind faith. Today, many young people are drawn to Buddhism not because they want religious rituals or worship, but because they find in the Buddha's teachings a deeply human, practical path. A way to see and overcome suffering. A way to cultivate compassion without discrimination. A way to live mindfully and freely. And because of this, you can practice meditation and study Buddhist teachings without necessarily identifying with a religious label. Modern Buddhist movements like Vipassana focus entirely on meditation and mindful observation, no religious worship, just direct practice. Many Westerners who attend these retreats often say, "This isn't religion. This is a scientific method for understanding the mind." However you see it, one fact remains clear, the Buddha never called himself a supreme being with ultimate power. He simply said, "I have found the path to freedom. You too can walk it for yourself." This is the fourth great secret of Buddhism, a deep truth that many people outside the tradition have never really heard explained. So if you ever thought Buddhism was just another theistic religion, I hope you now see how different it truly is. It doesn't demand blind belief. It doesn't ask you to beg a higher power. It simply invites you to experience awakening for yourself. In the next part, we'll uncover the fifth secret, which is also the most misunderstood. Is Nirvana really just another version of heaven? Stay with me to find out, and maybe you'll see that the path to freedom isn't as far away as you once thought. Secret number 5, Nirvana is not a heaven. When Westerners first encounter Buddhism, they often ask, if Buddhism doesn't have a creator God, and doesn't believe in an eternal soul like many other religions, then what exactly is Nirvana? Is it some kind of heaven where the soul lives forever in happiness after death? This is one of the biggest misunderstandings about Buddhism, and it's the final secret that very few outsiders ever hear clearly explained. Nirvana is not a heaven. Nor is it a blissful eternal paradise in the way most people imagine. To understand what nirvana really is, you first need to look at the Buddha's core teaching. All beings are caught in the endless cycle of samsara, the never-ending round of birth, death, and rebirth. From one lifetime to the next, we keep being reborn because of craving, attachment, and ignorance. Each rebirth brings suffering, being born, aging, sickness, death, loss, fear, longing. The Buddha called this endless entanglement samsara, the cycle of existence. So, what is nirvana? The word nirvana literally means to extinguish, like putting out a flame. Specifically, it means extinguishing the flames of craving, hatred, and ignorance. It's not a physical place or a happy realm waiting for you after death. Nirvana is a state of total freedom from all psychological bondage and the cycle of birth and death. Some scholars translate nirvana as extinction, but not extinction in the sense of annihilating existence itself. It's the end of suffering that arises from clinging and illusion. Think about it. From childhood, we're taught that we need to gain this, achieve that, own this, hold on to that, to be happy. When we get what we want, we fear losing it. When we lose it, we suffer. And this cycle doesn't stop at death. If craving and ignorance remain, we're reborn to keep repeating the loop. Nirvana is the state in which there's no one left to cling, no ego to defend, no greed or fear remaining. It goes beyond all the ideas of happy, sad, pain, or pleasure that we're used to. The Buddha said nirvana can't really be described with ordinary words, it can only be directly experienced. This is why many people new to Buddhism mistakenly think of nirvana as an absolute heaven, a place where some eternal soul lives in perfect bliss forever. But in Buddhism, there's no eternal, unchanging soul. Everything is impermanent and non-self. Nirvana is the end of every illusion about the self, the extinguishing of suffering, not a reward that's handed out after death. Some might ask, if nirvana isn't heaven, is it still worth striving for? The Buddha answered this clearly, nirvana is the ultimate goal of the path. Only by completely putting out craving and ignorance can a person be truly free. Picture it like this. You're locked inside a dark room, clinging to objects inside, believing they'll make you happy forever. But everything inside decays, breaks, and changes, so you keep suffering over and over. Nirvana isn't another, nicer room. Nirvana is opening the door, stepping into the open light of freedom, with nothing left to bind you. That's why the Buddha described nirvana as birthless, no more rebirth. Deathless, not subject to ending. Sorrowless, free of suffering. Peaceful, perfect stillness and freedom. It's not a concept to worship or a promise of reward after death. It's the destination of wisdom and mindful awakening. You might wonder, so when someone reaches nirvana, do they still exist? The Buddha didn't answer this question directly. He taught that questions like, does one exist or not exist after attaining nirvana, are beyond the limits of ordinary thinking. Nirvana isn't a state of being, or non-being, in the way our dualistic minds try to define it. What matters is not defining nirvana in theory, but understanding that only by extinguishing craving and ignorance can suffering end completely. You might think nirvana sounds too far away or impossible. But the Buddha taught that each of us already carries the seed of nirvana inside, in every mindful moment. Every time you're not controlled by anger, every time greed doesn't drive you, every time you let go of fear, in those moments, you taste a glimpse of nirvana. Many Westerners, after years of meditation practice, describe feeling a calm that goes beyond ordinary happiness, a sense that they no longer need anything to prove themselves, nothing to lose, nothing outside to chase after. That is nirvana, not a faraway paradise, but freedom from suffering caused by ignorance and attachment. When you understand this, you see that Buddhism doesn't promise a reward after death, it offers a path you can start walking right now to gradually break the chains in your mind. Nirvana is not a place. Nirvana is a state of mind that is completely calm and fully awake. If you practice mindfulness, compassion, and meditation daily, you don't have to wait until after death to go to heaven. You can taste the peace and freedom of Nirvana right here in the middle of this ever-changing life. That is the final secret, and one of the deepest truths of Buddhism. Before we wrap up today's video, let's quickly revisit the 5 most important secrets of Buddhism, truths that not everyone has heard or fully understood. Secret number 1. Buddhism doesn't have a creator God or an almighty deity who controls the fate of all beings. Instead, the Buddha was simply an awakened human, a great teacher who showed us that we must take responsibility for ourselves and free our own minds from suffering. Secret number 2. Buddhism sees the world through the lens of impermanence. Everything, our feelings, our bodies, our relationships, even our sense of self, is constantly changing and fading away. If we don't understand and accept impermanence, we'll keep suffering because we cling to what cannot last. Secret number 3. Meditation in Buddhism is not some mystical ritual. It's a practical, scientifically proven method that can change the structure and function of the brain, helping us live more calmly, clearly, and happily, right here in this life. Secret number 4. The Buddha never claimed to be a god with the power to grant blessings or punishments. He made it clear that each person must walk the path to awakening through their own experience and wisdom. No one else can do it for you. And secret number 5, Nirvana is not a heaven, nor is it a reward waiting after death. Nirvana is a state of mind, total stillness and freedom from craving and ignorance. It's not a place, it's a profound inner liberation that anyone can touch in moments of true mindfulness here and now. When you understand these 5 secrets more deeply, you might see that Buddhism is not distant or reserved only for monks. It's a path for each of us to look honestly at ourselves, understand the roots of our suffering, and gradually let go of unnecessary attachments. If you found value in what we shared today, don't forget to hit subscribe to the Dharma Journey. This will be your space to keep exploring other inspiring aspects of Buddhism, meditation, and mindful living, always explained in simple, down-to-earth language you can really apply. I'd love to hear from you. Of these 5 secrets, which one made you think or reflect the most? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts or your own story with me. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. I wish you peace, mindfulness, and the freedom to find true liberation right in your everyday life. See you in the next video.